You know that sound? That dreamy, shimmering, atmospheric music of Claude Debussy? It was absolutely revolutionary. But what if I told you the secret to that sound wasn't born in some stuffy Parisian concert hall? Nope. It came from a small island thousands of miles away. Today, we're going to deconstruct that sound and find the hidden ingredient that pretty much changed Western music forever. Okay, so what is it? What's the formula that makes Debussy sound like, well, Debussy? To really get to the bottom of this, we've got to start with the usual suspect, the answer you'll find in pretty much every music history textbook. And that usual suspect is Impressionism, right? The idea is that his music is just like the paintings of his contemporary Claude Monet. You know, those hazy, blurry, light-filled scenes. The thinking goes that Debussy was doing the same thing with sound, capturing a fleeting moment, a mood, an impression. Yeah, exactly. Like this. Impressionism is all about the vibe, right? It's sensation over sharp detail. It's about making you feel something, not showing you a crystal clear photograph. And honestly, it sounds like a perfect fit for Debussy's music. Case closed. Or is it? Because this is where we find a clue that kind of blows the whole theory apart. Get this, Debussy himself hated the label impressionist. Hated it. In a letter from 1908, he called it a term used by, wait for it, imbeciles. Ouch. So that tells us, okay, maybe there's a little something to it, but it is definitely not the whole story. We've got to dig deeper. All right, so if it's not just Impressionism, what are we missing? Let's do a little detective work. To find that missing puzzle piece, we have to go back in time, to a Debussy before he became the Debussy we all know. Let's look at the early evidence. Okay, so take his early stuff, like the famous arabesques. They're beautiful, no doubt. The guy had serious skills. But if you really listen, you can hear that he's still kind of echoing the greats that came before him, especially Chopin. He's playing by the rules, playing beautifully, but he hasn't found that spark, that thing that would set his revolution in motion. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at this split. Before 1889, his music is pretty traditional. It follows the rules. But after 1889, bam, everything changes. It's like a different composer. The forms get looser, the harmonies get weird and exotic. It's a total transformation. So something huge must have happened in 1889 to completely rewrite his musical DNA. The big question is, what? And the answer, the key to this whole mystery, it wasn't in some quiet studio or a stuffy music school. Nope. The catalyst for this entire revolution was found somewhere totally unexpected. A loud, chaotic, absolutely spectacular World's Fair. Let's set the scene. The year is 1889. We're in Paris for the Exposition, a massive World's Fair that brought cultures and sounds from all over the globe right into the heart of France. And right there, in the middle of all that noise and spectacle, Debussy stumbles upon something that will literally change everything. He hears it before he sees it. It's a performance by a Javanese gamelan orchestra. Think about this. It's a whole ensemble of bronze gongs, metallic percussion, and drums. For Debussy, whose ears were tuned to the harmonies of Bach and Wagner, this must have sounded like music from another planet. The scales, the rhythms, that shimmering texture, it was a sound world he never even knew existed. And you don't have to take my word for how mind-blowing this was. Listen to what Debussy himself said about it. He wrote that compared to Javanese music, the basic rules of Western harmony, tonic, dominant, the whole shebang, seemed like ghosts for use by naughty little children. Whoa! This wasn't just him thinking, oh, that's neat. This was a fundamental, earth-shattering revolution for him. Okay, so his mind was blown. But how did that sound, that ancient Indonesian music, actually get into his compositions? Well, music scholars have actually found the receipts. They've identified specific musical fingerprints that prove the gamelan's influence. Let's break them down. Right, so one musicologist, Kiyoshi Tamagawa, points to these 5 huge signs. These are the gamelan fingerprints that suddenly start popping up all over Debussy's music right after 1889. We're talking new scales, new textures, and a totally different way of thinking about how a piece of music is even built. And here's the proof, plain as day. Look at this comparison. On the one hand, you have his arabesque from 1888. Beautiful, but totally playing by the old rules. Then you jump to 1903 to his piece called Pagodes. And I mean, the name itself is a giant clue. And it's like night and day. The change is absolutely staggering. He's using a completely different scale, these complex layers, a cyclical form. It's all straight out of the gamelan playbook. So what exactly is a pentatonic scale? It's way simpler than it sounds. It's just a 5-note scale. In fact, if you're near a piano, just play the black keys. That's it. That's the sound. For Debussy, this was like finding a secret key. It was his way out of the box of traditional Western scales, a way to tap into that gamelan sound. And it wasn't just the scales. He also copied the gamelan's whole sonic structure, its layered texture. Imagine it on the piano. You've got these super low, booming notes down in the bass, like giant gongs. Then there's a melody floating in the middle. And on top of it all, you have these sparkling, fast little figures. That whole 3-layer cake of sound, that is a direct import from Javanese music. So there it is. Debussy found his secret ingredient, not in Paris, but in Java, by way of the World's Fair. But here's the thing that makes him a stone-cold genius. He didn't just copy it. He didn't just make French-sounding gamelan music. No, he absorbed the ideas behind it and used them to create a brand new musical language for the entire Western world. Yeah, I really want to stress this point. This wasn't just him sprinkling a little exotic flavor on his music. He went deep. He understood the very philosophy of gamelan music, how it thought about harmony, about time, about structure, and he folded all of that into his own artistic vision to cook up something nobody had ever heard before. And what came out the other side was this totally new way of using chords. Suddenly, he's writing harmonies that just hang there in the air. They don't need to go anywhere in the way old-school music did. It creates this floating, ambiguous feeling. He's using these new scales, moving big blocks of chords around together. You see, he could break all the rules because he just heard a kind of music where those rules didn't even apply in the first place. And just when you think the story's over, there's a massive twist. This brand new, dreamy, harmonically sophisticated language that Debussy invented in Paris, it jumped across the Atlantic and became a key building block for a totally different musical revolution: American jazz. I mean, check out this journey. It's wild. It all starts in 1889 in Paris, with Debussy hearing the gamelan. Flash forward to the 1920s, and jazz pioneers like Duke Ellington were listening to Debussy and falling in love with those lush, complex chords. Fast forward again to the 50s, and those Debussyan harmonies are just part of the language of jazz. That sound, born from a Javanese orchestra, had traveled all the way to the heart of American improvisation. So, to go back to our original question, what makes Debussy sound like Debussy? It's this incredible fusion, isn't it? It's a Parisian sensibility meeting a Javanese musical philosophy. A revolution sparked not by looking inward, but by opening his ears to a sound from the other side of the world. And it just makes you wonder, right? How often are the biggest breakthroughs not about inventing something from scratch, but about smashing two completely different worlds together and seeing what beautiful new thing comes out?